Found Us. More podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny and make an eternal difference. Now.
I never thought that I'd be that excited to hear that theme song.
I know.
It's been like forever, hasn't it?
Feels like we have been in the podcast drought.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's crazy that how many weeks have been off? Like a couple weeks, but it seems like it's been months.
Right.
That we've been off. And I don't even know what to say about it, but it's just one of those things where we were moving everything and it just became, we needed time to get stuff around, because unplugging things and moving people around. But we've had a major staff shift in the front office.
Right.
So a lot of the offices have been moved around and.
Yeah. So, we had to make room. So we had left Studio 1211.
Yeah.
Went across the street into the podcast studio over there.
Yeah.
And now that had to be revamped for an office.
Right.
And now we're back in the new remodeled Studio 1211.
Right.
And it's looking good in here.
Yeah.
I know you can't see today because we're just doing the audio version of this, but we've got green screen stuff up in here.
It's going to be totally different.
We've got brand new mic stands that are hydraulic, super amazing things.
We're going high tech on this one. And we have a round table, which is kind of nice because now when we're talking to each other,
right,
we're like looking at each other, and
yeah.
I like the setup. I think we got a lot more room in here. I think it'll be good. But yeah, the green screen is going to be the big thing because that's the decoration eventually.
Right.
So we'll be wherever
we can be in Venice and then next week in the Swiss Alps.
So in the wintertime when everybody is like freezing, we could put like a scene of a tropical background up,
And we can have some pina coladas up here.
Yeah, right.
That'd be good.
It's all good. So this week you've been busy? Keeping busy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a lot going on.
Yeah.
I know. It's like you look at your calendar, you're thinking, oh, it's not that busy right now. And then all of a sudden, bam, it takes off. Amy and I were talking about, we have not really had any time to do anything for like the last 2.5 weeks because we had the Right to Life dinner. We had, the
Link conference.
We had all this stuff going on. And it's just like, good grief, when, we got to do something. But I will tell you that in October, I don't remember if I told you this, but we won a trip to go to New Orleans for a few days.
Nice.
And so we're doing that for our 30th anniversary.
Okay.
And so we're going to be down in New Orleans for a while.
Nice.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be hanging out down there we're going to drive it.
Okay.
And so it's going to be a two day trip. One way, one way down and 2 ways back. But we're just going to take some time and have a good time hanging out.
Great.
We're thinking about doing a boat cruise for our 30th, and this is way better. Because we get to be down, in the atmosphere. It's a lot of fun down there, jazz, that kind of stuff. So,
yep,
that's coming up.
A little jazz flute for you.
I'm telling you, it's going to be good. We got a river boat cruise we're having. It's one of the things on the itinerary, and then we're going to be going around and just checking out sites and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So the studio is being changed, so that's all done. We're still getting things ready, so I'm not sure exactly when we'll be back up on streaming video, but we're trying to get there. But AJ's a little busy right now trying to get other things ready because while we're doing this, there's also streaming stuff that we're changing in the service for Sunday. So that's happening. And then there's a lot of hookups going on there. It's just one thing after another. So AJ's a little bit busy right now. He's like a one-armed man in a hanger factory right now trying to get everything together. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
Well, if you wonder why you listen to the podcast every week, and this is our first week in a while, do you wonder why? Well, I'll tell you why. MORE stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and eternity. So stop asking why you listen. Just never forget to listen and pass it on. Today's sponsor has been our running sponsor for a while because they do so much good for us. One of the things that we like to do is we like to highlight things and companies that are helping other people. And Bombas Socks is our sponsor for the podcast, and they help us a lot. I don't know if you know this or not, but we've already given out, Harbor Light, with their help, 70,000 pairs of socks.
Wow.
I mean, it's a lot of socks.
Wow.
Given to people that are homeless. They're great socks. They're black version of their, ones that they sell on the internet. But for every pair that you purchase online, so if you support them, you actually provide a pair to people like us to give it away to other people that need it.
Right.
And they donate a pair of socks to people that need safety and comfort and dignity that a great pair of socks can provide. So when you're ready for your next pair of socks, head over to bombas.com. Not only will you get some of the most comfortable socks out there, you'll also be helping someone else in the process. And we've made this a running joke at Harbor Light, right?
It's the official sock.
It's the official sock of Harbor Light. I mean, you go to Harbor Light when you're wearing Bombas, and it's so funny when people walking around.
We go to my small group and everybody, takes their shoes off and sits around the circle for the discussion or prayer or whatever, and everybody has a pair of Bombas.
I know, it's so funny. It's so funny. What was it the other day? I was sitting. We were doing something in the sanctuary, and people took their shoes off to be comfortable. And I'm looking around, and everybody has got Bombas socks on, and I'm like, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Out of all the things we could be doing. Yeah, so Bombas socks is a great thing. So I encourage you to go online, buy from them. They're not cheap. I'll be honest with you, the socks are not cheap. You get a couple,
but they're good quality socks.
Oh yeah, I have not personally had any that have had holes. They usually just kind of give out, eventually at some point. Mm-hmm. But as far as like getting holes in the toes and that kind of stuff, I have not had that problem. Have you?
I have a couple of pair.
That done that?
I wear them with my boots, and the boots kind of slosh around a little bit, and so that it kind of rubs on the heel.
Oh yeah, okay. So then you get the hole in the back. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Brian was telling me that he's got some, Brian Butnick, and he swears by them now. He's like, those are the only socks I wear. Yeah. But it was great. I remember not a few months ago, we gave some to the police department, and they wrote me back and said, everybody loves these socks. When are you going to get some more? I'm like, I'll get you some more. But they wear them every day. They have to wear black socks with uniforms. And I'm like, it's a perfect fit. So yeah, go to bombas.com and help support them, as they have been supporting us as a church for years now. We're a couple years into the partnership, and I just got an email getting ready to get my order ready for next year. So we'll have more Bombas socks again to give away. We're going to take an ID break and come back with introductions.
Your day is about to get better. How do we know? Because you press play on the More podcast. You're welcome. We will be right back.
Well, he's not here, but Pastor Ted's getting his teeth done something to him. I don't know, getting cleaned or pulled or what, but
right.
He's at the dentist right now. I don't think that's a fun trip, but
his dad was a dentist.
His dad was a dentist.
Just his dad's house.
His dad.
Let me pull out some old tools here.
Yeah, I got him sitting right here in the back room. I'll pull him out. Well, Amy, she used to be a hairdresser, and she's kept all of her stuff from when she did that.
Yeah, and I know every once in a while I'll see somebody and say, "Hey, her hair looks great," and they're like, "Yeah, Amy did it."
Yeah, she pulls them out every now and then. Well, he once dreamed of the PGA Tour. The issue, he kept turning sand traps into sermon illustrations. After a while, someone said, Gary, if you're going to preach more than you play, maybe you should just be a pastor. And he did. Pastor Gary, welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And it has been a great time out this fall out on the course. I've had a couple of new friends that have gotten us on a couple of courses you don't get to play very often.
Yeah.
And
I remember you saying something on Sunday.
Yeah.
I could not believe the price of a game.
Yeah.
Where is it? Bay Harbor?
Bay Harbor on the two premier courses, which are the Lynx Quarry. When you put that package together, $450.
That's crazy.
That's off season.
That's off season.
That's off season. And God has blessed me over the years. I've got a chance to play that course many times. It's been great.
Yeah.
And we have a new guy at Harbor Light. Comes in the summertime. His name is Doc, and he's a member up at True North. And so he's getting myself and a couple of friends on True North, and that's a completely private course. We actually have to have a member play with us while we're
in order to be on there.
So
that's a lot of fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fantastic.
Is that the guy that's part of it goes and does the PGA stuff?
No, different guy.
Different guy?
Yeah.
But that's still pretty cool. I mean, to get out there and hang out with that. Yeah.
Pretty excited. So the guy sitting across from me, the man with all the talent, knows what every button knob does, and has all the incredible voiceovers, and is a musical genius.
Oh.
When the boogeyman goes to sleep, he checks his closet to make sure Pastor Alex isn't in there.
I love it. Yes. The boogeyman. I love it. Yeah. Hey, did I tell you my wife, a while back, she got me into Downton Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, is that the name of it? Downton Abbey? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And at first I was just doing it just to be a good husband to kind of like sit and have something to do with her. Mm-hmm. Then I got into the show. Right. And so we watched it on wherever it was playing at PBS or whatever, got into it. And so, the other day they had a new movie come out. And so I surprised her and I said, we should go see the movie, And so it's kind of like impromptu thing. Let's just go do it. Let's not, plan ahead or whatever. we went and watched it, and I'm like, my wife, she loves this stuff, and I was getting into the characters. By the end of the movie, I was like bawling my eyes out because of some of the scenes in there, and I'm like,
really?
What is going on? But the funny part was we're in the Lyric, right? I'm sitting there, and we go to the 4:00 show because we want to be up late, right? So we're at the 4:00 show. I'm looking around, and we are the youngest people in that place.
Really?
Everybody else was like super, they got to be in their 60s or 70s sitting there watching this movie. And I thought, this is what our life has become right here. We're down here. This is excitement for us now.
Yeah. One of the things I watched the series with my wife as well. And one of the things that caught my attention when they were, towards the end, when they had to start selling off property and pieces like that, it really touched me because the owner, he wasn't so concerned about losing his wealth. He was concerned because he supported all these people with jobs.
Yeah.
That really touched me. And I think that's a great attitude to have.
Yeah.
If you're an employer, and most of the guys that I know that own their own business, they're not just thinking of themselves. They're thinking about those families that their business supports. That's a pretty special thing.
That's a good way of running your business. But he had control. He basically ran a town because he was the castle that was there,
Yeah.
And even though they had their own businesses or whatever else, he was kind of like the guy in charge. And so everything he did in the castle and the house affected everything outside and vice versa,
Yeah, I remember looking it up, and I can't remember the exact number, but they had more than 100 servants.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
100 employees just on that level, not counting the extension.
Right, yeah. The thing that cracks me up is back in that day, in that era, they would change for the dinners, right?
Yeah.
So breakfast, they had to have a certain outfit on.
Right.
Lunch, dinner had to be a certain thing. And they would have these servants come up and help them get ready for whatever they were going to do and pick out their clothes and all this stuff. I'm like, what kind of life is that? That is just amazing, right? You're just staying there and you're like, well, it's dinner time. I need to change. And that's their entire life. It was like changing clothes from one dinner to the next. And
did you ever go to the Hearst Castle out in California?
I have not, no.
All right. So William Hearst owned most of the newspapers in the United States at one particular time. So he was a super, 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 super wealthy man. Well, he would have a dinner with up to 200 guests.
Really?
And each person would have a turtle soup dinner, and the turtle soup dinner was the value of one person's yearly wage.
Are you kidding me?
So can you kind of imagine a $50,000 bowl of soup?
That is
for
nuts.
200 people at just one dinner.
That is nuts. Come on.
Right.
Talk about, you're talking about money right now. Talk about wasting money. Good grief. I'll go find the turtles for you and I'll charge you way less than that, Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess if you have that kind of money to spend, I don't know.
Spread the wealth.
Give
it around to the friends.
When we go to the Nehemiah dinner, the fundraiser, on behalf of Harbor Light, we go there and my wife and I, we try to, stay to the back because all these people are super uber rich, right? And you have conversations with them because they don't know who you are, so they're going to talk to you, and you're talking to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we came here for the 4th of July. We only come up here like maybe one weekend out of the year," and their house is like 10,000 square feet, right?
Yep.
And they only come up there for a week or a weekend or whatever, and they have 4 other houses about the same size everywhere else, and you're just sitting there counting the numbers. You're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money." And they have planes, private planes that come in, and
I heard an illustration one time that this guy pulled up, and he had a brand new Corvette.
Yeah,
and the person standing on the sidewalk criticized him for spending that kind of money on a Corvette.
Yeah,
when he could have just given it to the poor.
Oh yeah,
and what the man's comeback was? Well, I guess you're kind of right because I helped pay the engineer, the guy that put the car together, the guy that puts the gas in the car. Really, I am helping out the poor. I'm helping out people by giving them jobs instead of just giving them a handout.
Yeah.
So when you take a look at a person who maybe has 3 or 4 houses and they're all wealthy, they have gardeners. They have people that are keeping the yard. They have people that are doing laundry. You know what? You're employing people.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just giving out money.
Right. You work for your money.
Dignity comes along with your destiny and your work.
And they're taken care of. Mm-hmm. None of those people are being paid piddly wages either.
Exactly.
I don't, but it's nice. It would be nice to have that kind of money that you're going to look at it and go, I'm just going to do that, or.
But just think about all the incredible, generous people here at Harbor Light.
Oh my gosh.
we just had, I would love to see what the world record is for a cake auction.
Right.
A bake sale. What's the most ever? And we just blew our old record away.
You going to say the number or no?
I think I'm allowed to.
I think you can.
Yeah. $41,000.
$41,000. That is nuts.
It was raised on Sunday at a dessert auction.
We're talking about like people going home and making cakes.
Yeah.
They're really amazing.
Right.
But they're, homegrown, homemade, in the kitchen at home, made cakes, and it raised $41,000.
$41,000.
That is nuts. Yeah.
Harbor Light, you guys are the most generous church I've ever been.
They are.
I had a meeting last night with my financial advisor, and it's just that, I'm just like, hey, look at what God is doing through the people at Harbor Light. We raised $100,000 in 2 weeks for the homeless shelter.
I love it.
We supported 2 families who lost their dads to the ice storm cutting wood situation. Incredible amounts were given towards these families, and then now $41,000 in a bake sale.
Yeah.
This is all just in the just since summer kind of thing. So we have an amazing church.
You're like, just when you think that there's no way that you can do any more, then they step up and help again. Just think about all the things they've done, for giving for things that we support in the church. They've given money to set up 2 wells in Ghana.
Yep.
That happened like overnight. Like all the money came in plus more.
Yep.
Well, actually, we were raising for 1 well, and they gave us so much money, we were able to do 2 wells.
Yeah.
And then there's just been nonstop. And then we, the Nehemiah house, we paid off their mortgage. We gave them so much money now towards the new building. Christmas, we raised $80,000 for this Christmas thing. And I think people look at our churches our size and they think, wow, they're putting it into lights, and the pastor's getting, all these bonus checks, and all the staff driving around with Mercedes and stuff. That is not true. Right. You look at what we do with it, it goes right to work. Every dollar that we get in is got something earmarked on it for the service of the kingdom. And so I think that is so cool. And God honors that, right?
Absolutely.
Because as you do it, if you're obedient, God honors it. And I think you talked about that a little bit last week about how we honor God with our finances and what we do with that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I think that's just so cool how God keeps doing it. But $41,000 for cake.
Right.
And cookies and brownies and stuff like that. Yeah, no, this is crazy. We're going to take an ID break. We're going to come back with some interesting things that have been popping up since we've been off the air. And this week, it's just crazy. Some of the things that have started to change already. It just seems like every day I get up, something different has changed or something new has happened. I'm feeling like I'm always behind the 8 ball when it comes to information, but we'll be right back.
Live from an undisclosed location somewhere under the church fellowship hall, possibly near the coffee pot, it's Gary, Ted, and Alex with more podcasts. Stay tuned for more.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard this story or not, but it was interesting that I was reading this article about how AI is becoming more prominent in everyday life. And everybody knows, we've talked about this before, that I like to use AI for studying. It helps me get through a book quicker. Like I can just take a book and scan it, or put the ISBN number in there, and I can find what I'm looking. I can put a quote in there and find it on the page and go to it right away.
Wow.
It is so much faster, and I always tell people, it's not that I have never read that book before, but when you've got a library my size, you got to try to remember where it's at.
Yeah. Try to find that one line.
Right. And you want to make sure you quote whatever else. So it's helpful that way. So we use that sometimes in church stuff. And then it's also been super helpful. Whenever I send an email out or I write a letter, I always just run it through AI to make sure I'm not spelling anything wrong. Grammatically, it's not right, wrong or whatever it is. So it is helpful that way. But we've been finding out that AI is becoming used more and more in everyday life. And some of us are getting a little frustrated, and some of us are wondering what's next. Apparently, companies were just surveyed on the Forbes 500 list, and they all said that AI is now their primary first point of contact for their customers. So you call in or you text in your issue, whatever it may be. It never goes to a real person. It automatically goes to an AI that is running that part of the department, which is crazy. And they're even using, we've used voiceovers for AI for commercials and stuff here at the church. They're using them now to do actual conversations with people on the internet. So it's getting crazy. So American companies are doing this, and they're saying that they're going to probably push this even more. The problem is that we've got a lot of people losing work because the AI is taking over jobs where, we had real people sitting in behind a phone and talking to you. And they're saying it is more efficient because the answers come, real quick, and they can scan more things at one time and have more answers available. But what's the cost, right? That's the sacrifice, is that you get more efficient, but at the same time, people are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. I don't know about you, but I think that AI is kind of like what the internet was when the 90s hit, like 95, 96, when the internet was just taking off. I remember, everybody's like, oh my gosh, the internet's taking over. And now we use it for everything. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be a happy medium at some point. You got to be careful,
sure,
with what we use it for. But, we're sort of in the early stages, I think, of how this is going to work. So we got to get some bumper rails on to make sure we do it. And I think the government's doing that now.
And I think you're exactly right. I think that there's some productivity things that increases, and it's probably helpful for those kind of things, obviously. But the level of deception, that's the part that I'm most concerned about, is the level of deception that can happen out there. So now I've literally just in the past few weeks heard people say, well, I saw this, but I don't know if it's true or not. I watched this and I witnessed this, but I can't tell if that was real or not.
Yeah.
And so you actually, before we went on the air here, we were talking fantasy football stuff. So the Kansas City Chiefs, I know that there's been some disagreement or just some rough patch between one of their tight ends and the coach. Yeah. And then I watched a video clip, and the coach punches and knocks out the player, which is AI. It's not AI, real, but it looked as convincing as you could probably make it.
Yeah.
And so now you're just going to have a really, really tough time believing what you see.
Yeah, you're right. And it's happening more and more. I mean, it's the videos. One of the things that's interesting, you're talking about that, is that even Trump, he acknowledged the fact there was something floating around the internet about him doing something that he never did. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's all AI, it had nothing to do with it. Yeah, you don't know what's true anymore because it's so good.
Yeah.
It depends on what algorithms you're using, whatever. But it's tough. It's tough to figure it out. That's why I think, the government needs to get involved and say, we got to put some bumper rails or do something like we did with the internet. I mean, we had to do that with the internet at some point and say, listen, we can't, not everybody can be on the dark web. We can't just have the dark web take over so everybody can just do whatever they want and nobody know about it. Mm-hmm. So they're going to eventually have to do something with AI, I imagine.
Yeah. This Charlie Kirk situation, besides the spiritual contact and, the things that we're talking about with that, the free speech thing is under attack right now. And obviously he was killed because of free speech.
Yeah.
And, so they're trying to put bumpers up and guardrails. And so I kind of see it like this. So free speech is in a way in the same realm as grace.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this concept of grace in Christianity where, God can forgive anything.
Yeah.
And the key word is anything.
Right.
Like, and everything.
Yeah.
And so grace is incredibly dangerous. It's awesomely dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. It can forgive anything, but it can also be dangerous because I don't get to say, well, I think that's out of bounds and you shouldn't be forgiven for that.
Right.
Free speech is in that same kind of category.
Right.
Yeah. If somebody on the air, in their own public or their own private show or whatever, they want to promote something that is not good, right?
Yeah.
Free speech allows them to do that. We bank on the free market system to be able to have people pull away from those false statements, those things that are untrue, those things that are promoting evil. We're trusting the free market system to pull back from those things.
Yeah.
But the problem now is that there's so much deception that it makes it tougher for us to be able to pull back or press in on whatever's appropriate because of the levels of deception. So, free speech is super awesomely dangerous, just like grace is.
I like that. That's a really good analogy there. Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. Put it in that light. Well, it's interesting because if you look back, somebody was pointed this out and I thought it was an interesting comparison. In around the early 1900s, newspapers were sort of in the same ballpark, right? Mm-hmm. People would believe the paper so much that when they'd print something and it was not right or whatever, people believed it and then would spread the rumor around. And so people that had ill intent would put stuff in there on purpose to create chaos and panic or whatever else.
Which is happening right now.
Which is happening right now, yeah. And it's doing that with AI. So eventually the government had to step in and say, listen, this is not going to keep going on, and had to put guardrails up. And I think that's where we're at now today because, for a long time, we've trusted the internet for so long. Mm-hmm. It's not, we believe everything that's on there. Anything they put on there, we just believe. But now with AI being able to copy us, copy voices and people and faces and all that stuff, we got to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. So from what I'm learning, ABC, NBC, all of these networks, right? Mm-hmm. Those are controlled by the FCC.
Right.
Well, that's because they can't promote things that aren't true. That's why people lose their jobs when they make up lies.
Yeah.
Or they say things that's not an opinion-based platform.
Yeah.
Now, this is an opinion-based platform, so we can speak free speech here, and we could actually promote things that are not true.
Right.
Or promote things that are true that don't fit the narrative. Right. And we're protected because we're in a different category. Those newspapers, media, news things, they can't say things that are untrue. Yeah. And so that those are the bumpers and the guardrails on that particular. Well,
maybe at some point FCC will get involved with internet, and say, listen, we got to start locking this down to an extent, and I'm okay for some of it, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously I don't want, people always like doing what they did just a few years ago where, certain words you put on the internet automatically get shut off from. Right. I mean, because remember I got kicked out of Facebook because of the comments I made about the Olympics. And, I don't know, 16 years of Facebook that I had on there got deleted because I said something against the Olympics because it was on their algorithm of things you can't say on Facebook. So I'm like, I don't want that to happen, but I mean, I do understand there's guardrails.
I think that's important. I think we have a couple of people in the government that are smart enough to be able to say, look, even though we don't like what's happening from one particular party, right? Yeah. We have to watch out because whatever parameters we put on them will get put on us. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. And so that's that give and pull and that tension that's created with free speech.
That's right. Yeah. I'm with you. The only thing I want them to do right now is come together and figure out the deficit so that we don't have to shut the government down for very long. We were talking about that. So that's going on with AI. Another thing that happened this week is interesting because TikTok got approved by the federal government. They worked out a deal with China. According to them, the platform daily has 2.7 billion users around the world. And Facebook is actually complaining because once TikTok got this approval, 7.5 million people a day are leaving Facebook to go to TikTok because they find it an easier way to do things. You can do business easier and all that other stuff. Wow. So they're complaining. They want something to happen. I don't know what you want them to do about it, but that's called free market. All the 25 and unders are leaving Facebook.
All those small business owners who were complaining about Facebook, now Facebook is complaining because
right. Yeah, they're losing revenue.
The world just goes round and round.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if it's not going to work for the public, then they go to something that works. And sorry, you just didn't work out. It's like anything else. I don't know. I think the interesting thing though is that when I remember when Facebook came out, and it was only a college only platform. You had to be in college. You had to give your student ID and all that stuff, be on there. And then when it became public, I noticed that all the people my age started getting involved because it was nice. You can get connected with friends you haven't seen in a while and all sorts of stuff. And mainly those are the people that are there right now, are moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas that have figured it out and now use it. But the people that, Facebook apparently wants to have there, which are the Gen Zers, they're all, leaving to go to something else because they think it works better. So I don't know. That's interesting. The other thing that's happened this week, and it's happening apparently right now, between yesterday and today, according to Pastor Joshua McKelkella, I guess how you say that, the rapture is going to happen today. So I don't know. And it's just interesting because his claims, he makes a very good argument on the internet. But in USA Today News, they talked about it. And he's basically said the 23rd and 24th of September, Jesus is coming back. The thing that I've noticed, Amy and I were watching this the other day on algorithms about that, is that, people that are not Christians are like, obviously making fun of it. I mean, it's ridiculous because they even know the scripture that says we don't know the day nor the hour.
Correct.
Yeah.
Matthew 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to watch out for any person who sets a date.
Right. Yeah.
An hour. Right.
Yeah.
That should be your first red flag.
But, it's just interesting to me how people are so caught up in this. You remember back in the day, 88 Reasons Why Jesus was coming back in 88 and then 89. And
flip the book over and it was 89.
Yeah, it was 89. I mean, it was just like we've seen this happen over and over again. You think we'd learn from that stuff, but these guys get on there and they put this information together so it looks so good, makes such a compelling argument that people are like, oh, it's got to happen. It's interesting. I had a few conversations last week of people that have saw this on Facebook or on TikTok and all the other socials. And then they're like, oh my gosh, they're getting nervous. And I'm like, you're fine. You have the peace of Christ. You're good. You know where you're going. It's not
the
a big deal.
Rapture is great news for believers.
Yeah. It's great news for us. It's bad news for everybody else.
Dreadful news for those that don't believe.
Right. Yeah. But, that's what it does. It just gets people kind of like, all upset, that I didn't get everybody saved before it happens and all this stuff.
Yeah, I love that passage of scripture that says, in the context of the rapture and all that kind of stuff, encourage each other with these words. So whatever news we're kind of hashing out, whatever scriptures we're kind of going through, it's supposed to be encouraging you,
right? Yeah.
Not causing dread,
right? And that's all it's been doing, and it's been given a lot of interesting TikTok information for people that want to make fun of it,
Right.
So that's been the big thing is like what to do if you get raptured and your spouse doesn't, and there was one on there. My wife, we actually laughed at it. The wife was like, "This is how you plug in a vacuum cleaner." She's like, and this is how you defrost, chicken or whatever. She's going through this whole list of things. I'm like, that is hilarious. Apparently, she thinks her husband's not going to heaven, but she is.
Right.
Well, that's some of the stuff that we found on the internet.
Well, I had that one more thing I wanted to be able to bring up.
Yeah.
So Albania, the country Albania, has just made an AI representative.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not joking. So that it is an official government official.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And they've given her a name. Diala, and she's an AI generated bot appointed by the government as the Minister of State of Artificial Intelligence. So there you go.
Oh my gosh.
So we have AI now is an actual government official in Albania.
So she's answering questions and
yep, and they actually
talking
have
about policy.
They have a hologram image of her that you can actually see her speaking.
Are you kidding me?
No joke. So folks, get ready.
Yeah, I mean. That could happen at any point with anything,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the robots that are coming out are getting more and more scary as far as they're looking more human, and they're making him look more human on purpose. It would not surprise me at some point that we get to that place. I don't know. I told my wife, I said, I watched this one sci-fi movie and I thought it was really good, but their whole premise of the sci-fi movie was that the robots were created to help people like that needed help, like senior citizens and people that were handicapped and all that stuff. And I'm like, in that regard, that would be kind of good. I mean, if you had somebody that could help you get out of a wheelchair or take care of you because you don't have family around you, whatever, but then it gets really bad because eventually all that stuff goes haywire. But, it's like with anything else, the devil always gives you the benefit of the sin for a short term, and you don't see the long term effect, and when it takes over.
It's a biblical principle that we talk about often, and we are talking about this subject here in the series that we're on, right on the money. Money in itself isn't evil.
Right.
It's the love of money.
Right.
AI isn't evil. The love of AI.
Yeah.
Right. Robots are not evil, but the use of the robots or the love of the robots or whatever, So we can use this microphone, which is an awesome thing, but if I use it as a weapon, then it becomes a bad thing. So everyone needs to understand that the things that we talk about here, they're all neutral.
Right.
It's how they're used.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the first murder weapon in the history of man was a rock.
Exactly. So we don't all love rocks.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And we collect them now. We were going to the beaches collecting rocks, and that was the first murder weapon. All right, we're going to take an ID break, come back with Harbor Light Bible Trivia, because I know you guys have been missing that. You have a question ready to go?
I'm coming up with one right now.
I'll give you some time to do that.
Binge the More podcast. It's calorie-free, sugar-free, and yet somehow still leaves you spiritually stuffed. So, get your stretchy pants on because we have more.
So, we're here at Harbor Light Bible Trivia. Actually, I think I got the wheel somewhere. I don't see it up here. I think I moved it around here somewhere.
Because we're at the end of the month, right?
Yeah, but we've had a couple weeks off, so
okay.
I think we should just go into the next month and pretend like
fresh start.
Yeah, fresh start. Yeah,
clean slate.
Because we don't even know. I think I know where the prizes are. They're in a box somewhere. But we'll have to come up with surprises. Well, if you want to be part of Harbor Light Bible Trivia, all you have to do is send your answer into harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase. Or you can answer that on our Facebook or...
Remember last week when we were down there at that Link conference when we went to the hotel and they had that wheel you could spin for discount on the nights? Were you there? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
5 of us spun it and all came up on the same exact one. So that thing was rigged.
Yeah,
at least ours is real.
Yeah, they probably put a weight somewhere in there. That's why I wonder sometimes, like, why Mary wins all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if there's like something back there on the wheel that's weighted, or she put something on there. I'm not sure, but yeah, we try to move the names around to help out, so that everybody gets a chance to play. But yeah, so write it on the Facebook page. Let people know what you think the answer is. I'm sure when you hear the Bible passage, and then everybody else knows, and then you're helping them out, and they can all get on the trivia question. Well, Pastor Gary, what is the question for this week?
All right, our question takes us to the book of Acts, and we're going to be looking at the couple who lied about their offering and got struck dead. Okay?
Not good.
So I want to know who went first.
Who went first?
The husband or the wife?
Oh, this is going to be good.
Okay.
All right. And you can find that in Acts.
Yes.
Not going to give you a chapter because it's pretty obvious once you give them the chapter. Mm-hmm. It's usually...
you got to look it up for yourself.
You look it up for yourself, but it's an Acts. But if you have the answer to that, you can send it to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, and let us know the answer. Who was the first one that died out of the couple?
Yep.
It's a pretty good story, though.
Yeah, it is.
It is a really good story. We're going to take a break, come back with Bible Talk.
Long ago, in a church office not so far away, 3 men armed only with Bibles, microphones, and a questionable amount of coffee set out on a mission to make you laugh, make you think, and occasionally make you say, wait, was that even in the Bible? First, there was Gary, part pastor, part dad joke machine, and part mystery. Mostly because no one knows where he keeps finding those golf shirts. Then Ted, man of faith, man of wisdom, and man who once tried to fix the church copier with duct tape and a worship CD. And finally, Alex, he's the glue that holds it all together, mainly because he's the only one who actually knows how to work the record button. Together, they are the More Podcast, because sometimes a sermon just isn't enough. You need more.
Well, in this week's message, we heard a powerful word on what it really means to live right on the money. Not just handling finances, but living with contentment, breaking free from comparison and embracing a lifestyle of generosity. From Luke chapter 16 and Philippians chapter 4, we were reminded that God is El Shaddai, the God of more than enough. And he calls us to use what he's given, not just for ourselves, but to bless others and advance his kingdom. Today, we're going to unpack together with some questions that hit at the heart of contentment and generosity and what it looks like to live with open hands. Pastor Gary.
Yes, thank you so much. I really had a good time with this one. Ran into a friend who says, this is one of your favorite subjects, and I guess I speak on it often, but I think the evidence is in the putting there on the effects of the preaching and the giving that happens at Harbor Light.
Come on.
I'm just going to keep bringing it. Well, this is a series called Right on the Money, and we have 3 parts to it. We're in the ramp up to the small group campaign coming up.
Yes.
So this is the series that kind of gets us ready for that. And so Pastor Hunter Kilpatrick, the new assistant pastor here at Harbor Light, got the series going last week with living contently.
Yeah.
That was the main big idea. And he talked about chasing the wind and believing the lie that something can bring fulfillment and continuing to reach out towards that thing and try to capture the win. He had the 2 big A-bombs, is what I called them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he did.
That when we compare ourselves to other people,
it's
a weapon of mass distraction and the weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And so those were 2 really big thoughts. I really appreciate the message that he brought. And so that set it up for this weekend where we're talking about living generously, that we're going to make this a lifestyle of generosity. And so we talked about that in depth, and it was a lot of fun to be able to highlight KK, a man who's moved from Ghana to the United States.
Yeah.
A man who understands gratitude, and gratitude is kind of like the seedbed for generosity to grow.
Yeah.
And here's a man who is eternally grateful for the opportunity that's been offered to him, and that he's working super hard, doing a great job, and living the American dream. And so it was fun to be able to highlight that. And then people were inspired, I believe, to get involved with the dessert auction that happened after that, which you did a beautiful job at and had that beautiful sequin red jacket.
You like that jacket? Yeah.
It was really great. So, as we look at money, which is a tool,
Yeah.
Right. As I just quoted a moment ago, it's the love of money
right.
that is the root of all evil. It isn't money itself. And then the words of Jesus in Luke, where he says, you believers, you're just kind of naive when it comes to money and how to use it. And then he quotes a parable of the shrewd manager who loses his job, but then he cuts deals with people that owe his boss money. When people first read that, they get this idea that, well, God must be condoning, crooked behavior or bad, practices in business. Well, the point is, Jesus brings us the point when he says, use your wealth to build relationships so that when the end of your life comes and money is no longer with you, that your friends that you've led to Jesus will be there waiting for you in eternity. That was a really big thought. And that has a lot of it captured ideas that our money, yes, it has to help us pay our rent and put food on the table and get gas in our car, but we should be using our wealth for eternal purposes, things that lead towards people coming to find Jesus and faith in Jesus. That's and to be wise in how you do it.
Right.
Those are the words of Jesus. Let's be smart like the world. They use their money to advance their causes.
Yeah.
Let's use our money to advance our cause.
Yeah.
And that really was a great way to get things going on that one. And then we started taking a look at generosity. And as I just said, gratitude is super important. And you can't be speeding through life and be a person who understands gratitude. Gratitude comes at a slower pace. Gratitude comes with a bigger focus.
That's good.
Gratitude comes with being able to have a wider spectrum on what God is doing. It isn't just the thing right in front of you, because sometimes we do face difficulty right in front of us, financial challenges that come up. But to realize, I'm not in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I can still move and breathe and have my being. There are so many gifts that God has given us, both those that are tangible and those that are intangible. And to be able to recognize those things, and it well because of your background growing up, count your blessings, count them one by one, right? You count your blessings one by one. That's a process that takes time. And then you're adding a level of gratitude to every one of those blessings. That then causes joy to start kicking in your life.
Yeah.
And you mentioned just a moment ago that there's a cycle, there's a flywheel. I love that. That's a great one. I should probably use that this weekend in the review. A flywheel, it gets going and it has some of that built-in weight. When it gets over the hump, then it gets itself back up, right? That's what a flywheel does.
Yeah.
And so that joy, gratitude, generosity flywheel gets moving in your life, and it just starts picking up more and more speed, more and more momentum, and you're able to do more and more things.
Yeah.
I shared that story about my dad, who one of his favorite illustrations was, if you don't have anything to give, walk the ditch, pick up some pop cans,
right,
each worth 10 cents, give that in the offering, and then let the Lord use that to start, moving that momentum forward, that generosity thing. But it can start with a pop can.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting because, when pop can returns came out in Michigan, it was 10 cents.
Right, yeah.
And that was back in the 70s, right? Guess what? How much it is now?
How much?
10 cents.
Yeah, still 10 cents, yeah.
If right now, it would be like 73 cents if we would have put inflation in.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right, but it's still just 10 cents. But
they're worth it though, people do that. They pull them out of the trailer.
Yeah, look what happens right here at Harbor Light. We encourage you to bring your returns, throw it in the trailer,
right,
and then we use that for missions money to help people, sponsor people, give them a scholarship to go on a missions trip.
Yeah.
I just love Harbor Light.
Yeah.
It uses every possible thing,
right,
to help the kingdom move forward. I'm just so proud of that.
It's so good. Yeah. And I mean, we're not talking about tens of dollars. We're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars that have come out of that little trailer.
Absolutely.
To help people. And it's just amazing just by people just bringing their pop cans in and,
buy water at the Coffee Connections. That helps put in a well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so amazing to see that happen. I think it's interesting, because that is sort of an interesting concept to begin to understand, because I think we misquote that passage of scripture a lot of times. We look at the idea of money and we think of it as evil, but it is merely a tool in the hands of the person that's using it. It doesn't have intent, doesn't have an agenda on its own. It is whatever you use it for. And I think that is so important for us to understand. And so, Harbor Light, we look at people that have made it, by the world standards, where they've made money, they've been successful. And we praise them for that. We're excited, but we also say, listen, God's giving you that resource to do even greater things than the rest of us because you have more tools in your tool shed than we do to use it.
One of my favorite illustrations is that if you were to win the lotto, find a bag of money. The bag of money is my favorite one because you didn't have to gamble at all to get it.
Right.
You're just walking down the sidewalk. You find a grocery sack full of money. Money just amplifies. It's an amplifier.
Yeah.
Okay. So if a drug dealer finds a bag of money, what is he going to spend the money on?
Yeah.
More drugs.
More drugs, yeah.
Okay. If a generous person finds a bag of money, what are they going to spend the money on? More generosity.
Yeah, more generosity,
Okay?
more opportunity.
So it's just an amplifier.
Yeah.
Money amplifies what's already in your life.
Yeah.
If you're a person who is generous, you're going to be more generous.
Yeah.
If you're a person who is tight-fisted, you're going to actually become more tight-fisted. I love one of those parables where Jesus, I mentioned it, he hands out money, he hands out resources by merit.
Right, yeah.
Okay? I got my little political thing in there.
Yeah.
He hands it out by merit. And the first two guys double their money and give it back, and then he gives them more, celebrates with them. But the man who buried the money and brought it back exactly the way he was given, because he was fearful of the manager, fearful of the man. The scripture says, evil and wicked servant, take what was his and give it to the guy that just doubled it.
Right.
So when you're a tight-fisted person, you actually are causing your own problems.
Right.
Because the Lord will take from you, the enemy will take from you, the world will take from you what you have and give it to the guy that's going to be able to do more with it. There should be a real eye-opening awakening to that passage of scripture when it comes to our finances and our resources.
That what you just said there, it is a countercultural message even to the church, right? Because I can't tell you how many times I've had people that we're talking to, and they would take that third guy's approach to life in general because we live in an economy that's really hard. People are barely making it from day to day.
I call it living on the skinny.
Yeah, living on a skinny. Yeah, it's just like paycheck to paycheck. And they would look at that guy, at the third guy, and elevate him and say, why wouldn't we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to be that person? But I think you hit a good point there, is that when you start creating a heart atmosphere, a response atmosphere in your life in that regard, then it's not just you trying to be frugal. Now you're like, I'm going to govern everything in my life that way so that I'm not going to even be helpful when I come to church on Sunday, right? When we ask for an offering to help other people, that's the first response that comes to our mind. Well, I don't have enough money. I got to save what I need so that I can take care of myself and what I need to do. And so then we're not generous. We kind of just take that off the table now, because now we're thinking about ourselves and about all the things we need. And that's exactly the attitude that God's trying to break in us so that we don't live that way. And you talked about the idea of having open hand response to that stuff. And it's amazing that if we go back to what Jesus said in Matthew 5 about how the birds are taken care of, that should be the ultimate approach to life in general, is that if you have those resources, things are tight, but if God calls you to give something, then don't have that response to be, I got to save it. I got to keep it for myself because I don't know what the next day is going to look like. Instead say, well, God gave it to me. It's his to use anyways. I'm merely just a steward. I think you mentioned that word in the message. We're just stewards. And I think that's the right approach. That's the approach that God's looking for in our heart. I don't think God's trying to bankrupt us. I don't think that's his intent ever.
Not at all.
I think
because he's the God of more than enough.
He's God more than enough, and he's also a God that requires us to honor our obligations. So we have some obligations to take care of, but then you also said on Sunday that we create our own problems by how we spend our money, and we create our own obligations that may not be biblical or may not be in God's purpose for us because we think we have to have those things.
Right.
And we need to change that thinking as well.
It was really, I stepped on all of our toes, including mine, that if I can't participate in a generous opportunity, and the word opportunity was right in the scripture, I can't participate because I'm so strapped. I have no margin, no buffer, no savings to be able to do those things. If you actually take a look at where did the money go, most of the time we spend it on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so now I can't be generous because I'm actually tight-fisted. And that was a lot of fun to be able to bring that out and challenge people in that way. I brought up the illustration that, when I go golfing and we talked about, I get to play some world-class courses here in Northern Michigan that people don't realize. They're world class. I've had people play, Pebble Beach and a couple other places out that are super famous. And then they come to Northern Michigan and play our courses and they're like, this is better.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I preached about making sure that if you get free golf, you should be tipping every single person that's working there and be super generous. Well, we played a round of golf right after church on Sunday. And when we came in, we were the last guys on the course. We came in, so there's the guy that's wiping the clubs down, the bad guy, and I had just we had a contest, and so I had gotten some resources, some money from the contest, and I just handed it right over to the guy that was wiping down the clubs, and his eyes got a little bit big. He's like, "Wow, thank you."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Well, thank you for being here late, working, right, wiping the clubs down." And then all the other guys that were in my group had been in church on that Sunday, and they all came forward and they all tipped the guy as well. And I patted the guy on the shoulder and I said, "I'm a pastor and I just preached about this. I just made you $20."
Yeah,
he was like super grateful.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not going to move until every person gives. And
just give me evil eye.
Exactly,
all day,
it was kind of the Hawkeye on the thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot of fun to be able to put that illustration right into practice and into play. Yeah. We should be looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
Especially when we've been blessed.
Yeah.
And especially when we find that bag of money, right?
Yeah.
A free round of golf is a bag of money for me.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that I'm generous with those things.
Yeah.
And that causes joy. Joy causes gratitude and generosity to flow out of it. Just super great.
That's why, I love being in the place that I am to see what happens behind the scenes here at Harbor Light. But there are so many times where God blesses us to give to other situations. And, my wife, a lot of time, Pastor Amy will give dryers and wash machines and all kinds of stuff and cars. And there's times where she's able to put people in apartments or whatever. And just watching that flow happening. And, the thing is like, as God blesses us as a church and a group, we're all being a part of that process of just giving, to those things. And, it's been sort of my personal thing my entire life is that, if somebody gave me something, I've had this happen before where somebody would give me a car. I don't go and sell it. I give it away, give it to the next person, if it's still drivable. Right.
Right.
But it's a resource to give. And it's just an amazing thing to be able to have that opportunity to bless somebody else. And I see that happening all the time in the community here. And I know you talk about it a lot too. But it's that opportunity that God gives us to sow more seeds into the kingdom, because you never know how it's going to affect somebody's heart, their situation, whatever they're. To you, it's I need to give this away because I don't need it anymore. To that person, it's a salvation because they needed it, And so God uses those things, but that's what we're talking about. And the money is no different, right? God blesses your business, gives you resources, and as you give it away to things that God needs, it's an amazing opportunity for God to plant seeds.
I have a really neat situation that happens at Harbor Light. I won't use any names, but there's a person who's loosely connected to our church who has a foundation that is set up aside to help out people in need. And they are wonderful people. So they'll call and say, "Hey, I've got this person that I know that needs a car. All right, I'm going to donate this money to your church, and I want you to, help make sure that they get this car."
Yeah.
And that way, they don't even get any of the attention.
Right.
They're making sure that the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing.
Yep.
They're using Harbor Light to funnel those resources to where the person needs to be blessed. Wow, what a great thing, right? To live out that passage of scripture. So they are so intentional on making sure that they don't get any recognition for it.
Right.
And actually, they're giving the recognition away to Harbor Light, because now, the check comes from Harbor Light to that person, or I get a chance to call that person and say, "Hey, I know you're in need right now. Somebody in your community knows about it, and they have just purchased you a car."
That's so cool.
It's a wonderful benefit that I get to be a pastor to help with that. Kind of balances out all the tough calls I have to make, clean up on aisle 5. Pastor.
Yeah, right.
So it's a wonderful thing.
I know. To share another story, we had this need because my wife and I are on the board for Right to Life, and we had a need that needed financial help. I put it out there to some people, and they did the same thing, like what you're talking about. They road checked to Harbor Light. Don't want anybody to know what's going on, and they wanted to help the need that was there. And it was just a great thing to walk in and here's a check. I can't tell you who it came from, but This is on behalf of somebody that donated to help the need. And it was just a really cool thing. The people that, when I gave it to them, they were shocked that somebody was willing to give that amount of money, because it was not a small amount.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm like, this is just how God works. God does those kind of things. I'm merely the vehicle. I'm the vessel. I didn't do this. It came from them. But the fact is that, we see people doing that a lot. Mandy, who's our accountant, she sees that happen a lot, where people send her money and say, I want this earmark, like you're talking about, for this, or because Amy does benevolence a lot of times, they'll send it to the church so that Amy can use it for something else. I just love being in those conversations to see what God is doing, and I just love the fact that we can be that avenue for that. Let's talk about that idea of El Shaddai. You talked about the blessing that's more than enough. I think that's just we don't. You mentioned it jokingly that people come to Harbor Light, they've never been here before or know anything about Scripture. They might think that we have multiple gods by the time you're done, but these are all characteristics of who God is, just telling us more about him. And so one of the names that represents his character is El Shaddai, which means he's the God of more than enough. You talked about that in the message, and it was really good.
Yeah, I think the stretch for me, or the thing that I learned in preparation for it, is the word Shaddai. There's a word that is a birth out of that word, and it's the word for breast. And when you first kind of look at it, it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Well, when a mother feeds her child from her breast, she is supplying the needs for that baby, and that baby is, every example I've ever thought of or known of, right? The baby feeds until the baby is full. Right. Isn't that a wonderful blessing that the Lord creates a woman's body to be able to feed her baby?
Yeah.
And if the baby eats a lot or a little, it's enough. Right. And so God, and the word El Shaddai, coming from that word there, he is the God that supplies all of our needs, but he gives more than enough. Right. We're fully satisfied as long as we go to him, and our sufficiency and our dependence is on him and his sufficiency for us. And so this idea that we are blessed to be a blessing, I think that is a wonderful antidote to greed and hoarding, is to realize, yes, I have been given more than enough, but it isn't for me. The bonus, the bumper, the extra is to bless others with. And that actually, again, creates that flywheel of giving in our lives. And so to realize that God wants to be our sufficiency, but he's the God of more than enough. It was a really exciting concept for people to be able to hear.
How do you begin to apply that understanding in your daily walk through the week? What do you think would be good?
Yeah, so the scriptures encourage us that people that don't work shouldn't eat, right? And so we are called to put all of the talents and gifts into play and to work on it, but to realize that my ability to work, my ability to think, all of that comes from God. Yes, it might help produce the income that comes into my life, right? But that all is a gift from God, and that we are the managers, we are the stewards of the resources he brings us. And I believe that it should cause us on a daily basis or in our week to believe bigger, to dream bigger of the things that God wants to do. I spent the evening last night with someone who sits on the board for our homeless shelter, and we were talking, and the gift that Harper Light was able to give, now they have this bumper that they're using to, build a bigger complex to help more people. That then all of a sudden people, once money gets in the pot, then people get excited about controlling where that money goes. Yeah. Those people weren't around before the money got there.
Right. Yeah.
To realize that many times money is a magnet and it will draw people in. You want to make sure that you're drawing in the people that are continuously being generous and not controlling the direction of where that because you can shut the flow off.
Oh yeah.
With that. And so, we're praying for our homeless shelter that they're able to, expand and be able to do more and dream bigger. And when they came and shared the vision and the dream for the homeless shelter, the Nehemiah Project, it was way bigger than what they are currently doing and serving. I think the Lord rewards that.
Yeah.
I think the Lord is going to grant that that level of faith with the resources, because he's the God that's generous.
I think, in my life, I think personally, I have been one that's been kind of short-sighted with that, it's not like I don't have faith to believe that God's going to do something, but I think I have many times put the limit personally, just on the potential.
Right.
And I don't think I'm the only one that does that. I think that it's hard to imagine that God would do something greater than what you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife and I were talking about our devotional times, and a lot of times we do it separately because she's reading a different part of the scriptures than I am. And I was just telling her, I said, one of the things that God's been laying on my heart is just, the future that's coming, right? Because we're 51, moving in the future, and like, God, what does it look like for me in the next 10 years, 15 years? What do I need to do, for that stuff? And, some of the things is like, God telling me to believe for he's going to take care of whatever it is, whatever's on my heart, and to believe that that's going to happen, and not kind of get in this mode of thinking, great, here we go, what is it going to look like, when, you can't move as much as you used to, or you can't do what you used to do, but God just keeps reassuring me that he's going to take care of it. And I think that's really interesting, that all of us, wherever we are in our lives, no matter how old we are, how young we are, whatever, God wants to expand that idea of what the potential could be. Not saying that we're going to win the lotto, or not saying that, God's just going to do all these things that, just kind of like type yes on everything, and everything's just going to happen for you. But God's taking care of you. And I think that potential in that is sometimes limited by us, because we think, well, as long as I can just get a glass of water and a piece of bread, I'm good, But God's like, no, I got more that I want to do for you. And I love the story of Abraham, because that was one of the things that really spoke to me as I was going through the book of Romans, is that over and over again, God called Abraham to expand his tent borders. And he did it not just once, but twice, 3 times, where God asked him to expand his idea of what was possible. And I think that increased his faith, but it also gave him the idea of that God's idea of what is possible is way different than what we think is possible. And not to get into the mindset of limiting him. And I think that's what the devil loves us to do, is to limit the potential, the long view of what God can do. And he gives you just enough to where you kind of bite and you're like, oh, this is good enough. And so we're not talking about the God that's good enough. We're talking about the God that gives more than we even thought possible. And I think that's, to me, one of the things that God's been teaching me lately is I'm not the God that's the God of good enough. I'm the God that's going to give you more than what you've ever expected. And that's where my faith needs to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be living in a mansion or whatever, but his idea is way bigger than mine. And to put my faith in that, not in just this little bit. And because, if we stay there, then we're not really experiencing all that God has for us. And I think that's a kind of a change for me, to think differently, to think outside the box, I guess you will. Instead of putting God's potential in a box and saying, well, this is only as far as it can go. And it's been an eye-opener for me, because I've been reading scripture differently. Whenever I see like people in the Bible where God has, done something for them, God had to first obviously open their eyes to see the potential and see that he can do more than what they even thought possible. And it always seems to be the narrative. I want to show you that I can do greater than what you even expected. And it doesn't mean like he's going to do that all the time, but he does show them that that's the potential that he has, as opposed to living in a faith world where it's just, this is all it's possible for me. This is all I can have. And when you begin to move in that realm, it's amazing that God, the God El Shaddai, becomes real. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you start living in a different world. You're not expecting, you're not entitled, but you live in a world where God's just doing amazing things. And it's just like, that's him. That's what he does. And I think that's what we see here at Harbor Light. It's like, well, we thought at the cake auction, we talked about it. We're all like, if we can just hit the number we hit last year, maybe a few more $1,000s. And then we started praying about it, like, God, you can do it. You can open this up however you want. And God's like, you know what? I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to double it.
Yeah.
I'm going to double what you got last year. And you're like, how's that possible? Because we were just looking, let's be honest. We're just expecting God to just give us what we need, good enough. That's all we needed. And God's like, no, I want to just show you how much I love you by going even one step further. And that's what he wants to do with all of us. He wants to show us that he can do that if we're willing to put our faith in that possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot a lot of fun on this particular weekend. So as we get ready to launch into next weekend, we are going to be looking at living a legacy.
Oh, good.
Living your life in a way that is transferable and will continue on after you breathe your last, section of oxygen here and step into the glory. Your legacy can continue on. And I know you're a man that is very, very aware of the people, the shoulders that you're standing on.
Oh, yeah.
And so let's live away in such a way that we're going to be continuing the work even after we're not here.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Then we'll hand out legacy packets to everybody so they can send it to the accountant and get it done.
You're laughing, but that was what I really wanted to have happen.
Oh, did you really? Yeah. And I have legacy folders out here for everybody. Yeah. That's a really good thing to do, though. We used to push that a lot in the Salvation Army, going to people that were a part of the Salvation Army for legacies and stuff. It's amazing how much money you can put in capital with legacy to do more work after people have passed in the thing, because the government seems to kind of work for you in that regard. Like they provide the opportunities for you to put stuff aside so that you can use it later on. If you're talking about wanting to expand the school and you're not going to be around here, to see it expanded because you're going to be with Jesus, then help us do it while you're gone, to make it happen. And those dollars can go a long way. I used to love sitting with the guys that would do the legacy speech with the people, and they're like, this is what your money can do while you're here. But if you put it into legacy, this is what happens after you're gone. And people are like just shocked, like, are you for real? And, I think the one thing that people are always worried about, does my family get any of this or whatever? There's so many ways that this can happen. It's a blessing for everybody.
Yeah, that's one of the ways that, I'm kind of giving a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
My plan is if you have 3 children, you divide your wealth up into 4 parts. Each of your kids get one, and then the church gets one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great way. And, we talk about all the things we have to do around Harbor Light, get the roof done, which is going to be a big bill. We got to put lights in the parking lot. I mean, these are things that have to happen just for security and safety and to keep the building, operational. That costs money.
Yeah.
It's not cheap to do that stuff anymore.
As well as continue to do mission trips, outreach. And, I really want to continue to, meet the needs of the people in our community.
Yeah.
We have been placed here for a reason.
Yeah, it'd be interesting sometimes to sit down with the finance group that we have here and just figure out, because we used to do this with the Salvation Army, that every dollar, 85 cents went to direct missions and work. It'd be interesting to see what we look like. I'd imagine it's pretty close to that, where every dollar that we get in goes to something like that. It's not just overhead costs or, the staff is getting paid extra, but it goes to what God wants it to do. We're good stewards, I think. Absolutely. And I think that's why God keeps blessing us. Well, we'll be back here next week. Hopefully Ted will be here with all of his teeth. We're not sure.
Yep.
He's got the best smile though, man. The guy,
absolutely,
all his teeth are perfect. And I don't like to smile around him because he looks so good. So we'll be back next week and we'll talk to you later.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission now.